right, welcome back to the Patriot Hour for Wednesday, January 9th, 2019. If you're new to the channel, thanks for stopping in. Thanks for giving us some of your time. We know it's valuable to you. So here at the Patriot Hour, we try to bring you tidbits of information on a daily basis, multiple times a day, on a need to know, what we feel needs to come to you and what you need to hear. Remember, in the intelligence community, gathering, truth seeking even, you can apply a lot of the same rules. You're going to look at a lot of stuff, hear a lot of stuff, read a lot of stuff, and a lot of it just might not be true. You have to use your discernment, get through. The old rule is listen to everybody, hear everything you can, watch everything you can, read everything you can, but believe none of it till you can verify it. So in the information gathering, if you're in intelligence and trying to maybe find a terrorist in a certain area of the country, you're going to be listening into phone calls and text messages and reading everything you can, and a lot of it is nonsense, doesn't pertain. You have to be able to figure that out. All right, folks, we got an article here. Again, make sure you're subscribed. If you're new to the channel, welcome. If you're an old-time subscriber, welcome back. All right, Restored Republic. This came out just earlier today, about 7 a.m., 7:07 a.m. Compiled on 9th of January. Starting early this morning, they started compiling different things. This is an article up there. All right, below is a summary of information from the internet. It would be up to the individual reader to do their own research and decide whether or not it is all valid, just like I was telling you. A special thank you to Martha for her untiring research efforts in discerning the truth, and to Ken, who uncovers unlimited intel on the pedophiles to help us save the children. Patience is virtue. Having virtue is a sign of good moral being. Good moral beings have the power to overcome evil and change the world. Judy note. A rumor circulated that government was in a third week of shutdown because there was no more liquidity of the fiat US dollar since being suspended of new asset funding on October 1st of 2018. Another rumor was that on Monday, January 7th, global leaders had discussed GCR timing and then released the RV at 12 a.m. EST. They were saying that the HSBC would begin private redemptions Tuesday, January 8th at any time after 11 a.m. Bruce claimed that banks would be liquid on Friday, January 11th through exchanges. Wouldn't start until next week. With terrorist threats against the U.S. border, the serving of 71,000 indictments on mostly political elites, both sides of the aisles, plus Democrats, refusing to address the security issues, President Trump will be mulling the possibility of declaring martial law. I don't know about that. We feel it to be probably a national emergency at the border, all right? And that might happen as early as today. On January 2nd, military tribunals began at Gitmo with FISA litigation against Obama, H. Clinton, Comey, Clapper, Brennan, Lynch, and McCabe. Now, again, I have not heard much out of Obama, Clinton, Comey. These people typically don't take an opportunity to miss something like what was going on yesterday, to come out, tweet, be in the limelight, talk, somehow, some way, get their word out. So we got some Trump Twitters here. Abolish the Federal Reserve. So A, the cabal was a global criminal operation composed of private parties that has controlled the global monetary system since its inception in the 1600s. It was rumored that because of the cabal's unaccounted for spending, that by October 1st of 18, the U.S. dollar has been suspended of new asset funding as of January 2019. The U.S. was completely out of money. The plan involved revaluing the fiat U.S. dollar into gold, asset-backed note, plus restore the original U.S. Constitution through a takedown of the criminal cabal. B, the cabal. Since the 1600s, Satan worshippers have been illegally funneling U.S. taxpayer monies for their own benefit. By the 1800s, they were using the privately owned Federal Reserve, IRS, Bank of London, Vatican, and central banks to control the global monetary system. while filling the pockets of themselves and politicians they wish to influence along the way. Organized by the Vatican and enforced by various mafias under direction of the Vatican's satanic Ninth Circle child sacrifices cult, the Vatican, Federal Reserve, Queen Elizabeth, central banks also obtained funds by running international child exploitation, drug and gun running rings, using payoffs, blackmail, and voter fraud to secure control over the geopolitical world. C. Redemption appointments. Rumor was that on Monday, January 7, global leaders had discussed GCR timing and then released the RV at 12 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. HSBC would be given private redemptions Tuesday, January 8th at any time after 11. So we just read that wrong. Bruce claimed that the banks would be liquefied. By Friday, January 11th, we might not begin exchanges until next week. D. President Trump has indicated that he would declare martial law within the next few days. I think it's going to be, they're using the word martial law, national emergency. And there is a difference. Within the next few days, such announcement would come through the presidential's emergency broadcast system via cell phones, email, and mass media, and likely be followed by instruction on how to make exchange, redemption, appointments. E. The stock market. Last year in the market had the worst year in a decade while the nation experienced the highest job numbers. Since October 1st, the stock market has been fluctuating in and out of the red and crashed again January 4th, down 20% from October 2018 peak. Why? Countries were getting rid of the fiat US dollar and creating their own monetary systems. Plus, the Vatican was no longer funding large corporations connected to the bank to bankrupt the US Inc. and central banks. An expert said you're witnessing the entire implosion of the central bank system in real time, and there's nothing the central bank could do about it. F. Rumored schedule. On October 1st, 2018, the U.S. government was suspended of new asset funding, and there was no more liquidity on the fiat U.S. dollar. By January 1st, 2019, the privately owned U.S. Inc., which ran the system, was officially broke. January 2nd, military tribunals began at Gitmo with FISA litigation against political elites. January 3rd, political leaders returned to Washington even though the government was in the third week of shutdown with no end in sight. Plus, at least 1/3 of Congress faced arrest on over 71,000 indictments filed in federal courts across the nation. That included charges of election fraud that would nullify their 2016-28 election. January 7th, the rumor was that the global leaders discussed GCR timing and then released. January 8th, rumor was the HBC would begin private redemption. January 8th to the 11th, with terrorist threats against the U.S. border and government shut down third week. Martial law, I'm going to say national emergency was expected to be announced within the next few days, followed by the RV of the U.S. note and settling out of appointments with an internet group. Bruce claimed the banks would liquefy. January 15, final Brexit vote. January 16, terrorist Alfonso Alua was organizing 1,500 plus Hondurans and thousands of Mexicans who planned to force their way into the U.S. illegally around January 16. Another reason for Trump's immediately declare of a national emergency. Operation Gladio was a nationwide secret army of foreign mercenaries, criminals, terrorists, and other soldier of fortune wannabes who used the open borders to sneak across terrorist cells who would carry out false flag attacks. Another reason for Trump to declare this state or national emergency. January 22nd through the 25th, the new gold asset-backed global currency reset was expected to be announced along with Quantum Financial System, QFS, at the World Economic Forum annual meeting in Davos, Switzerland. This would require a permanent shutdown of the Federal Reserve, IRS, and central banks across the globe. Through Tier 5, Joe Public could begin their exchanges. April through May, the 2016 and 2018 U.S. elections would be considered invalid with announcement of the Gersera law, exposure of voter fraud, and the fact that George Soros not only owned most mass media outlets, but controlled the programming to most state voting machines. Gersera required the new elections to be held within 90 days of announcement, meaning new elections would likely be held around April or May. Iraq, the big call from Bruce. 1, Iraq was done and has 3 announcements coming out. One was made today, January 8th. Another would be Thursday, January 10th, and the third on January 11th. One of those announcements would be the revelation of the dinar for it to go international. The value of the dinar was already above the $3 plus mark. This past weekend, Iran dropped 4 zeros off their rial and came to par with the Iraq dinar. On Friday, January 11th, there would be large trenches of monies which would hydrate the banks for our exchanges. 6, we may not get started until next Monday, January 14th or the 15th. Groups were starting to go in and possibly could liquid starting tomorrow, January 9th, which is today. January 8th, these are some videos. QAnon. Get down here. We Americans are dealing with 2 foreign governments on our shores. One territorial United States government presided over by the British hegemony, and the other one municipal United States government presided over by the bunco artists of the Republican and Democratic political lobbies and what pretends to be a United States Congress. These 2 entities were built into our government from the beginning, but never intended to play anything like the roles they have since being usurped. The territorial United States government was supposed to oversee new territories until their eventual statehood, and also provided a government for possessions run as a territory domains like Puerto Rico and America, Samoa. They're also provided other stipulated services as clearly stated in the territorial United States Constitution. Instead, they have usurped upon our states and established their own state of states and liberally substituted themselves for our rightful government in betrayal of trust and duty. In their defense, they will say this was necessary because we did not reestablish federal level states of states after Civil War. But in the fairness to us, nobody explained the situation, and no effort was made to inform the public and allow for the reconstruction of lawful government we are owed. The economy was very rapidly declining. The MSN was pushing their agenda, calling for a recession during elections. Trump and the Patriots know the plan. There was a great reconstructing coming to the central banks in the world. Phase 1 had begun. The president of the World Bank stepped down, and Trump would replace him. The Dems, MSN, confirmed that Trump could use a national emergency to fund the wall. Trump was holding a press conference that the MSN doesn't want to cover. Trump tweeted out that the stories about Syria were false. Q dropped more breadcrumbs, confirmed that the government was run by the deep state. RBG might not be coming back to the Supreme Court, and Trump could appoint a new candidate. The fake news would not report on any of these successes. They created narratives. When they don't come true, they create new ones. The clock was ticking. Everything was changing. All right, so there's our article. Again, lots of information. What's true? You're already hearing words in there. Martial law. He's going to declare martial law. Again, that's quite different than what I'm led to believe and what I have come to know. So we're not going to promote that. We're going to call it possibly a national emergency. We don't want anything really declared. But honestly, if there is an issue of invasion, trafficking, drugs, bottom line is we need to get the wall funded. We don't want to go into a form of martial law at all. But is it going to be declared a national emergency? Is it already been declared a national emergency? He put an EO in on human rights abuse, and if you're found to be doing these things, so again, we're going to follow along, wait for this Trump meeting at some time today, see if the Democrats come to the table and see what they have to offer, and see if they, again, I think this is just painting them in a really bad spectrum. It's they're kind of backed into a corner at this point. So again, I'm Mike. This is Patriot Hour. God bless all of you, and please subscribe, like, share. We'll be back with more articles here soon throughout the day. Any new Q drops or anything else in that front, we'll be back here to bring it to you. Again, take a look in the comment section. Some of the greatest patriots around the globe, around the planet, right here, helping part of the movement, and here to help you and guide you in the right directions. Have a great morning into your afternoon, and we'll see you back here real soon.